DJ Immortal, live in the mix.
Alright, Outlaw Radio Live fans, we are live on the air, full effect, with none other than legendary DJ straight out of Philadelphia. We got DJ Q.S.T. on the line. How you doing this evening?
Hey, what's going on, DJ Immortal? Thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, you're most certainly welcome. You're an absolute East Coast legend, man, so it only seems fitting to have you on Outlaw Radio Live.
I appreciate that, man. Really do. Thanks for the recognition.
Hey, man, you're most certainly welcome. But I have to ask you, Q, what made you decide to get into the music industry initially?
I could get a little long-winded, but I'm going to break it down to you, how it all came about for me. Of course, like most people, the early rap records that came out, go back, of course, to the first commercial record, Sugar Hill Gang, The Rappers Delight, and then start to hear, more street, underground, the rappers, Grandmaster Flash, Furious Five, the super rapping, the Message, and, like more other commercial rappers, Curtis Blow came out with Christmas Rap and The Breaks, Funky 4 Plus One More, Spoonie G, Treacherous 3, Cold Press Brothers, to go on, because Philly was so close to New York, so we used to get all the records early, you know what I mean, because down the record shops in Philly, Sound of Market, Funk of March, Sound of Germantown, so we were right up to date on the latest stuff that was coming out. And also I don't know if you remember the Fresh Fest concert, that was back, one of the first major touring concerts of hip-hop acts back in, that was way back in 1984, 85. That was Run DMC, Houdini, LL Cool J. I think the Fat Boys was on that too. So, I went there, and locally, we had our own little scene. We had Lady B, she came out with a record, I think it was called To the Beach, y'all, and Jocko Henderson. He had a song called Rhythm Rap, Frankie Smith, Double Dutch Bus. And, so Philly started to, make our own music, and that's when I really, became interested in, and, more so than just being a party DJ. I wanted to get more on the production side of things, pretty much, And, that, like I said, I'm a little long-winded because I did have a little bit I want to talk about, but I was really inspired by the DJs that I saw in those groups. Most importantly, Grandmaster Flash, and I think he was called DXT at the time. He recorded, you remember the song Rocket, Herbie Hancock?
Yeah, I remember that song, classic.
He did the scratching on that, and I saw him on a Grammy Awards show, and I think that's what really inspired me to say, hey, this is something I really want to do, because he was making music with those turntables, you know what I mean? And that's a classic. Maybe you could YouTube that Grammy show with DXT on there, and of course, Run DMC, Jam Master J, and Houdini's DJ, Grandmaster D, DJ Cheese, and also, last but not least, Philly. We had our burgeoning DJs and groups too. For Philadelphia has always been a musical town, going back to the sound of Philly, Gambling Up. You know what I mean? So when hip hop hit, we said, hey, we in Philly. Philly's the music town anyway, so we're gonna, do our take on it. And like I said, I became part of the Philly crew. We started as a DJ group and a production company, and we started, doing our own music and everything. That's pretty much, that's what really got me interested right there,
And also, Q, you are one of the earliest DJs to come out of Philadelphia. I have to ask you, how does it feel knowing that you paved the way for so many DJs in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, you're right about that. I appreciate that. It was only a few out that around that time I was making records when I started making, recording records. I mean, of course, DJ Jazzy Jeff with Will Smith, Fresh Prince, and at the time it was artist named Steady B. He had a DJ, Steady B, and his DJ, I can't come up with a Grand KD, I think it was KD, and it was a couple of few others, DJ Cash Money, and myself. We was all around that same time. I think they might have been on records slightly ahead of me, but I was right around that time. 1985, 86 was the first record we brought out, the Mac Money, Philly Crew feature Mac Money with called PSPSK, which you played earlier. That was our first record that we came out with. And but you know, when you look back, I was one of the first, for sure, Philly DJs, at least the first 5 that recorded on records.
And also, I remember when we were actually talking on the phone when we first set up the interview and whatnot, we were chopping it up for a little while. I remember you telling me that, and this is what I really wanted to touch base on, but I remember you telling me that Philadelphia had a different sound than New York, even though they were so close together. Could you actually break that down for our listeners and actually give us some insight on how New York and Philly were different, like rap, hip-hop wise?
Well, I mean, New York, we as Philly, like I said, we, you know, we heard all the songs and stuff from New York, but you know, we always they rappers was surprised. Melly Mel, I mean, you know, maybe one of the greatest rappers of all time. You know, Philadelphia, we had a, you know, we really liked that 909 sound, that beat kick, that snare from there, and the DJs. We was always known as a DJ town. Matter of fact, Philadelphia is known as DJ town up to this day. I mean, I think every neighborhood had a DJ, if not every block. You know what I mean? That there was somebody that was a DJ. I mean, you know, I go back to local DJs, you know, my neighborhood, you know, that were DJing before I was. You know, a DJ, a friend of mine, Big Sean Smith, he lived right across the street from me, and DJ Ho Wayne's, rest in peace. I mean, it was DJs everywhere. But as far as the production sound, we just had a up-tempo sound, and the DJ was really highlighted, you know what I mean, more so than we had some good MCs too. As we got better over the time, I mean, Philly even, you know, I mean, came up, and you know, recently maybe right up there with New York, if not surpassed New York, in my opinion, as far as the rappers. I mean, I think that was around, Will Smith, E.S.T., then the Beanie Seagulls, and Black Thought, the Roots, and everybody. You know, but that's you know, we had a unique sound. You know what I'm saying, pretty much. But it was all love. We all loved, you know, it was rap and hip hop. You know what I mean?
And as you mentioned earlier, and like as our listeners already know, you were a member of the legendary Philly Crew. I have to ask you, how did you and the other members get together? What's the story behind that iconic formation?
Right, I'm glad you mentioned that. The Philly Crew, at one point, like I said, you know, we were inspired by these the earlier rappers, and we started a DJ group / production company. I mean, not only did we, you know, we did a couple of parties, you know what I mean, but around that time it was changing from just the DJ to party to move the crowd to actually making beats and making songs, you know what I mean. I came around that time was like, hey, you know, why play records, you know, other people's records when we can produce our own records. So we, myself, as called my day one friend Jeff Collins, we started the Philly Crew, and we had a couple other MCs over the years, but the way that we came about meeting me and Mac Money, that was through a record company named Place to Be Records. How we came about that, they had brought out a song by Schoolie B. That company was called World Famous Records at the time. And what happened was we had that record in my basement where we rehearsed that, and it was a phone number on that record. And, you know, back in the days you could do that. We picked up the phone and called that number and told them, hey, we're a production company. We got the hottest beats and the hot DJ. And, you know, we got something. And they said, hey, by the way, we got an artist that's looking for somebody to do some beats. And it happened to be me, Mac Money. And, you know, as they say, the rest is history. We got together. She had the concept of the PSK Diss song. And we put together that beat and the scratching. And that was the first song. But, we had our own flavor that we were dying to get out. And those were the other songs that you played. Besides the PSK, I don't know if you played One-on-One. I heard you did play the Respect Yourself.
Respect Myself is actually one of my favorite tracks you guys did.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you about that. The only thing that kept that song from blowing up was we were in the middle of a distribution change with Roughhouse Records They were going from Capitol Records to Columbia at that time, and had that song had a video. I mean, not just because I produced it. I'm for sure that song. You said that's one of your favorite songs. That song would have blew up on MTV, BET, and we would have had even a bigger name out there. You know what I mean? But our songs reached. I've heard people down Florida, overseas, Germany, France, everywhere. They've heard our songs. But I think that moved into that video age, and that was the only thing that kept us from really exploding. Was that change of the distribution with Roughhouse and not having that video out there to promote that song, But that's pretty much how we started. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. It's okay. Sorry about that. But no, that's actually really cool, that story, though. You know what I mean? Like, I've been a Philly Crew fan for a long time, man, and it's actually cool to be able to hear the stories from the person that was actually part of it, man. It's really cool to actually hear those amazing stories.
I'm glad you like that. I'm glad you gave me an opportunity to put it out there, because a lot of people haven't heard the backstories of groups like the Philly Crew. You know what I mean? I mean, of course, we've no disrespect, we've all heard Run DMC, LL Cool J, but there's some other groups such as us that was making noise and were just as good. We just didn't get that that big push as far as that video and that big budget like that. But I mean, the guys like yourself that appreciate real hip-hop, rap music, they understand that, our music was just as good, as far as the beats and the rhymes and the DJ and everything, you know what I mean? And I appreciate you for recognizing that and, invite me on here to help tell the story. Appreciate that.
Hey, man, I'm most certainly welcome. But when you brought up that video, man, it actually got me thinking, like, if you guys were to make a video for that, like, where would the Philly Crew be today? That's what I'm really thinking.
Man, exactly. I mean, like I said, we've been household names to this day. I mean, that video had so much power once you got on MTV and BET and those type of shows. That's the only thing that we didn't get to do, and we didn't get to complete a full album, or they call CDs at the time, due to, like I said, the changing of the distribution with Roughhouse Records was going from Capitol Records to Columbia Records, and after that, they ended up signing some other acts, which happened to be Lauryn Hill and the Fugees and Chris Cross, and I think it was Cypress Hill, and there was another act or two. But that's the nature of the industry, you know what I mean? We had no control of that at that time. But the things that we got to do, I mean, it was to this day, I really appreciate that we had that opportunity and the people that we got to meet and everything. And I just wanted to mention the story about that PSPSK record. A lot of people don't know about, the backstory of that, how we recorded that up. And we actually went up to New York to record that song and at the famous Power Play Studio. And then about a week later, we recorded the remix at Quadrasonic Studios. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. That's the studio where Tupac was. He didn't get murdered there. He was shot there before he was supposedly robbed or whatever.
Yeah, and, the 1994 Quad Studio shooting down in, I think it was Manhattan, I believe.
Exactly, Manhattan. We rode from Philadelphia to Manhattan to do those two recordings. I mean, we were there like during a midnight recording session. The later the hours, the cheaper the rates were or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I remember cutting those scratches like 12 midnight. I was cutting those cuts and scratches, you know what I mean? And the city that never slept. We went out like 2 a.m. and it was like daytime. It was so busy out there in New York on I think it was Broadway or 7th Avenue or whatever. But also was the engineer of the remix was OC of the Fearless Four, and he did a heck of a job. I mean, I did recordings on our pre-production stuff, but I mean this guy was just amazing. He was a monster on that board, making those sounds, that make that song talk, man. I never got to thank him for that, but he did the thing on that, you know what I mean? And also L.A. Sunshine, Grandmaster Caz, Mixmaster Ice. These were all guys that was in the studio, and it was just, these were guys that we used to play their songs, and here we are right there with them. So it was all a pleasure, you know what I mean, to just to have that opportunity to meet those guys and everything, Yep.
And when you also brought up earlier about Roughhouse Records, I want to ask, how did you and the Philly crew get that record deal? Like, what's the story behind you actually getting signed?
I'm glad you mentioned that. How that happened, okay, PSPSK came out on a independent label, as I mentioned, Place to Be Records, and just so happened that was a disc directed at Schoolie D, who had the PSK song that was a very popular song, and just so happened his manager was named Chris Schwartz, and Chris Schwartz was starting a record label with Joe the Butcher Niccolo. And what happened was, after the Place to Be Records, I decided I was going to start my own label and bring out two songs. One was called One on One, and the other one was Fired Up. And I went down to Studio 4 and met Joe and Chris, and and they heard the songs, and Chris Schwartz said he fell in love with that song One on One, and they told us they were about to start their own record label themselves. And it was called, at the time, it was called Pyramid Productions. That's what the original contract, I still have it somewhere. And later they changed that name to Roughhouse Records. And basically that's how we got that deal. They said, they're offering y'all a contract. You know what I mean? I came down there independent, put my own money out. And they liked it so much, they offered us a record contract. That's how we got with Roughhouse Records. And as you say, the rest is history.
And that's pretty crazy, though, that you actually still have a copy of your original contract after all these years.
I sure do. The first one, since Pyramid Productions on it, I don't know where the Roughhouse one is somewhere around, but I do still have that one, the original one, Pyramid Productions. And but those guys they were great because they allowed me. Around that time, I was doing most of the production. They allowed me to do what I wanted to do. Nobody told me how to do any of the beats or cutting or scratching. They added a guitar on that Respect Yourself and bass line on One on One. Other than that, everything was just like I was great, bring it out, and they just slapped the label on, and they, like I said, Chris said he really loved those songs, and those guys was some good guys. They didn't tell us how to do anything as far as what they wanted us to do or how they wanted me and Mac Money to sound or anything. We were able to have full freedom and control of the whole production process, and I really appreciate them for letting us, really express ourselves that way.
And I remember when we were talking on the phone as well that you were telling me, I can't remember exactly what it was based on, but you were telling me that there was like shady stuff going on in the recording studio, I believe, or something like that.
Could you repeat that part? It was what going on in the recording studio?
Oh, sorry, like shady stuff going on and whatnot during your guys' recording and whatnot.
Not on none of my sessions. I mean, I don't know what went on, on other sessions, but no, Joe and Chris were straight up guys. Joe was a heck of a technical engineer. That's what those two. Chris was really the business side. Joe was the music side, and like I said, I had nothing but good things as far as Studio 4. I mean, that was the studio that Will Smith and Jazzy Jeff and everybody who was somebody coming out of Philly was recording down there. That's why I went down there to record my independent stuff down there. And as I said, they liked it. And the rest is history. That was the Roughhouse deal. But no, everything was, up straight up as far as, in their studio. And some good guys.
And when, and also I have to ask this. So earlier on you mentioned Mixmaster Ice. I have to ask you, how did you and him initially get connected? Like, what's the story behind that?
There you go. That's a good question. When we did the remix of that PSPSK song, like I said, the first song was done a power play, and Place to Be Records wanted that song. They wanted Mia to come with her voice a little bit more laid back on the remix, and also to have the sound coming a little more oomph to it in the bass and stuff to kind of match PSK, Schoolie D's deep 909 bass sound. So at Quadrasonic, as I said, there was numerous established artists coming into our recording session, and one of them was Mixmaster Ice from UTFO. They were already out and had an album out. They had videos out and everything, and I distinctly remember him coming in, giving me prompts and saying, he was asking, was that me? cutting. This was before I set the turntables up and stuff. I said, yeah. I said, yeah. So you're not talking about, Schoolie D's record. He said, no, the female, the answer's on. I said, yes. I said, that's me. He said, man, you good, man. You know what I mean? So, that was something we chopped it up. He gave me my props and stuff like that. Really, gave me more motivation to say, hey, I'm in the right place, the right lane, doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You know what I mean? To hear from an established DJ at the time, and we've never really kept in real contact or whatever per se, but that right there was that was enough for us, me and them chopping up and them giving me my props. You know what I mean? So that that was the story with Mixmaster Ice right there.
And when you were just talking about Mixmaster Ice, you brought up Schoolie D, and I noticed that you did work with Schoolie D as well on the Manic remix. I have to ask you, how did you and Schoolie D meet, and what was it like working with him?
That's a very good question. The song's called Maniac, actually. It was,
oh, my bad. Sorry about that.
Schoolie D had came out, yeah, no problem. Schoolie D had came out with that song back in 1984, I believe, and that was the song was stripped with no scratching on it, and on the flip side, it was a song called Gangsta Boogie, I believe, and that was raw, just a drum beat and him rapping. So what happened was Place to Be Records used to, Schoolie D, I think he actually was on their original label, which was called World Famous Records. And somehow Place to Be wanted to make a remake of that song. And they had asked me and my partner, Diamond Jeff, Doc Groove, to do a remix of that record. Our interpretation, whatever we wanted to do with it. You know what I mean? They had the master tape or whatever. And so I said to myself that I could cut. That was that eye scratch from the Fab Five Freddy. Probably the most used scratch sound in the history of hip hop. So I basically cut that eye scratch straight through there, and I don't think nobody ever. That I kind of did it on the strength of Rocket. How Herbie Hancock did the fresh cut through Rocket. I chose to do the eye cut on that Maniac, and from what I hear, that song was they played it locally on radio mix shows and stuff here in Philly, but I hear overseas, just by me Googling and just hearing other people telling me that song was just, it was like a game changer at that time, because a lot of people overseas hadn't heard nobody cutting like that, straight through a record and everything. And also, the other side, we added a bass line to that gangster, I think it was called Gangsta Boogie, as I say. Added a bass line and my scratching on there, too. And that, that song, to this day, I mean, it's a very popular song, and a lot of people still love that song. Matter of fact, that was Schoolie D's first record, that Gangsta Boogie, and that's kind of allowed, him to be known as the godfather of gangster rap, as the first artist to be talking about some street stuff on his records, you know what I mean?
And also, sorry, Bob.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, in the year 1986, you were featured on a track called Little Caesar by DJ Eliot Ness and the Untouchables. I have to ask you, how did you and Eliot and the Untouchables get connected? Like, what's the story behind that?
Yep, that's another good question, brother. When that happened, that was another Place to Be Records we were signed to, and like I said, the Philly Crew was a production company in reality, as far as beats and DJ, coming together. We could do tracks, and just needed some MCs to rhyme over them. But it was an artist, I think his name was, we called him Snow C, and he had another guy, his DJ came to Place to Be Records. They had the lyrics to that song, but they didn't have nobody to do the music. And as I said, we were a production company, and they had that concept of this Eliot Ness concept. So as me being a DJ, I came in there and did the scratching on there and called myself DJ Eliot Ness, and the Untouchables became Snow C, and my production partner Jeff. They split his lyrics into a duel. They were going back and forth like a Run DMC type of style. And, I did all the mixing in there, the cutting, and Now that record, that was a big song overseas. It did well in, the States as far as, Lady B, local mix show. Made the countdown. I don't know, did it make number one? It was top 5 for sure. I think it made number one week or whatever. But it was overseas. It was a DJ named Mike Allen. And he loved that song. He played it in his countdown for about 6-7 straight weeks. And, it was a top seller over there. And, I don't, only thing that didn't happen, we didn't get invited to a tour over there. One thing, we didn't have a strong management. You know what I mean? We were signing labels. We were kind of self-managing ourselves, you know what I mean? Which in hindsight wasn't really a good thing, you know what I mean? If we could do it over again, probably would have had a stronger management team or whatever. And probably would have been at, I think it was UK, it was some kind of fresh show in Wembley. I was DJ Cheese, Grandmaster Flash. It was all the big acts were there. And I'm sure, had we had proper management, we would have been there too. But, those are all learning experiences, man. We had the production, but, we needed to hook up with a strong manager, maybe like Rush Productions, Russell Simmons, or somebody to really, take our production to the next level from doing for other artists and everything. But that's how that song came about. They were artists that were looking for a deal, but they had nobody to do the music, and we did it. And I just called myself DJ Eliot Ness. There's Eliot Ness after me, this guy from overseas. I think a lot of people confuse us. Because some people thought that I was him, you know what I mean? But I told him I'm from Philadelphia, and I did that scratching on that, you know what I mean? Not him. From, I think it was Switzerland or somewhere or whatever. But it's all good, you know what I mean? It's all learning experience. But that's how that song came about, and that was a, very, very popular song right there, especially overseas.
I actually did not know that you were Eliot Ness. I honestly thought that you did production on the song. I didn't know that you were Eliot Ness. I guess you learn something new every day.
Yeah, I became Eliot Ness. What happened, like I said, the group, they had a DJ, but when the scratch parts came, they wanted me, my production company and label, they wanted me to give it a shot, the scratch of name. When they heard me do it, they said, okay, I'm going to be this Eliot Ness in this group, you know what I mean? So it was me, as you see it on the label, it says Crack Pets by, I think it says on there, Q.S.T. It's on there somewhere, but that's me. And I also did I did some scratching, some what they call, quote, ghost scratching for some other local Philly acts who will remain nameless at this time. But, that was part of my come up too. You know what I mean? Yep.
And also in 1989, yourself and the Philly crew joined KRS-One on the Stop the Violence tour. Can you tell us a bit more about that tour, and what was it like touring with KRS-One?
Well, actually, it was actually the tour stopped in Philly. We didn't actually travel with KRS-One. What happened was we were signed to Roughhouse at that time, and he came through with that tour, and needed other acts on that show. You know what I mean? When it came to Philly, it was the Mad Music Center. That's a big outdoor venue, seats about 6,000 people, I think. And we had a couple of weeks to get a show together, and we did, the Philly crew, we came out and did our songs. We did the PSPSK, and we introduced the new song, the flip side of that one-on-one is called Fired Up. We did that, and, I came out there cutting It's Time and Cybertron and all that, all the hot tracks at the time, and, we put on a good show, but we actually didn't travel with that tour. It was when it came to Philly, we was part of the acts on that show. That's what happened. But I like to say Chris KRS-One, I mean, at the time, he put on the best performance I have ever seen. Actually, after we performed, I went out to the Crown to watch his show, and I had never seen nobody take over a stage like Chris did, and it was mad props. I should show why he was a headliner for sure. You know what I mean? So that's the story behind that Stop the Violence concert right there.
And as we already know, you are one of the best DJs to ever come out of Philly. I have to ask you, what is some great advice you can give some inspiring DJs today?
Hey, first of all, I'd like to thank you for that compliment, man. You know what I mean? There's been some great DJs out of Philly. There's too many to name, but I I do want to say shout out to a DJ that kind of set everything off in Philly. It was DJ Rasheen, Grand Wizard Rasheen. You know, he I understand he kind of taught DJ, you know, other DJs, Cash Money and Jazzy Jeff and a couple other DJs, you know, the art of DJ. And I learned, you know, on my own of trial and error, you know what I mean, hearing stuff and trying it on my own, you know what I mean. No one ever sat there and taught me anything, you know what I mean. It's just like musical artists playing stuff by ear, you know what I mean. But yeah, but my advice would be, you know, I know the industry's changed a little bit now, you know, everybody, the DJs now with these, you know, the computer stuff, the Serato and CDJs and everything. But, you know, when I was out, it was 1,200 techniques, man, the old school way, man, carrying crates of records. And so, you know, but, I mean, I think of anything. I mean, you got to perfect your craft, number one, and be prepared when opportunity knocks. You know, that's the key to success. Preparation meets opportunity, and you got to seize that moment, man. Go for yours, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, and life period, you know what I mean? And that's what we did. Like I said, it was hundreds of DJs and crews, but, you know, if they didn't go for theirs, you know, that's them. They just became house party DJs or whatever instead of trying to take it to that production level and, you know, making the music for themselves. But that's life, you know. We went for ours, and nobody's going to come knocking at your door for anything. You got to go and get it. That's it. That's my advice. Go get it, and preparation meets that opportunity, and seize that moment, you know.
So I have to ask you, Q, what's next for you? Like, is there any current projects you're working on? Anything else you want to shed light on while we still have you here?
Okay. Well, really, I mean, I'm still open to, you know, production. I mean, I have people always asking me, you know, to do some more beats. By the way, I probably have about 25 beat songs unheard. That's on cartridges from, you know, years of production, man. You know, they all, in my opinion, hits heat. You know what I mean? But kind of fell back. You know, at one point, like I said, I started my own record label. I did bring out a knack. That was back in, I think, maybe the last thing was probably in, you know, right around the new millennium, 2000. You know, it made some noise, got some play and everything. And then, you know, I kind of fell back into, you know, I've always, you know, invested. I was in the real estate, you know, because I never quit my 9 to 5, put it that way, when I was in the industry, you know, and that's my advice too. I mean, don't stop that unless you really making it, you know what I mean, full time and money is coming in, those checks are really coming in, you know. But yeah, I'm really, you know, I'm still, you know, my ears is open. I listen to the newest stuff and artists and stuff, but you know, I'm kind of glad that I got out of it around right in the early 90s when it changed from, you know, the positivity. I mean, I think I had the African medallion on it that KRS-One show in Philly, and then at 92, 93, it became more, you know, no disrespect, the gangster thug rap, man. You know, a lot of the West Coast influence and even the East Coast, you know, Biggie Smalls and them. But, you know, I'm kind of glad, you know, my career as far as, you know, recording songs like that kind of faded because that really wasn't my lane I was trying to be at, man. You know, it was about positivity, originality and positivity back in the golden era of hip-hop. I would say from roughly 85 up until 90, 91, around that time. And so, you know, I think everything worked out the way that it did. The only thing, like I said, you know, we just didn't never get that big video push on MTV and, you know, that BET thing or whatever. But other than that, you know, things happen for a reason. I think, you know, I got out as far as, you know, around that time when it started to change, because that definitely wasn't my lane or our group's lane like that. So, but my ears are still open, man, and I still, all these years, I still have my account, MPC, and, you know, I still have a couple of 1200s, but, you know, it is. They're there. But like I said, something moves me. Who knows? You know, I may take another shot at it, man. You know.
So I have to ask you quickly. Do you think that the Philly crew maybe will get together for maybe like a reunion concert or anything like that?
Man, that's another good thing, man. I mean, I've been hearing whispers of, some people saying they might want to, have us come out on a show or whatever. But, more so it's to be up to MCs. I mean, as far as, the music would be no thing. I mean, we have instrumentals of the songs or whatever, and or set up a drum machine or whatever. So that's not gonna be a thing. But it's just a matter of getting the crew back together. As I say, time has moved on. My partner and the production. He's doing other things right now. But we still got our ear. He's still. I think he's still messing with beats and everything. You know what I mean? And if something comes around, an offer of doing a show, maybe with the Schoolie D banging a diss song, after him doing his song or some kind of collaboration or whatever. So, we're open to it, man. You know what I mean? Never say never.
And so this is the time in the interview, Q.S.T, that I give a chance for the individual that comes on the show, just a chance to give shout-outs to whomever they want to give shout-outs to, and also your social media handles. That way our listeners can follow you if they're not already doing so.
Okay, well, no big ado. Just, always shout out, of course, my family and all my family and friends. And, special shout out to, my parents who, rest in peace to my dad, who allowed us, as the Philly crew to use their basement as our pre-production studio, our rehearsal hall, making all that noise down there, you know what I mean? And, of course, MC Mia Mac Money, for the dope lyrics that she provided and our friendship over the years. Like I said, family, I know, they're listening, and all of Philly, like I said, everybody listening worldwide, peace, love, and respect to everybody, and that's pretty much it. Like I said, I really appreciate the invite, and you, I really appreciate our music, man.
Hey, man, you are most certainly welcome. Like I said, I've been a fan of the Philly crew for a very long time, so it was an absolute honor to have you on the show. Anytime that you want to come back, just hit me up on Facebook, and we can most definitely work out a date and time. You're always welcome on Outlaw Radio Live.
Okay, one more thing. You did mention social media as Facebook, DJ Q.S.T, parentheses Philly Crew, and also YouTube, DJ Slick 215. That's Slick. That's with the QS. It's Quick Slick. That's DJ Slick 215 on YouTube. Those are pretty much it. I'm not on the IG or the Twitter, nothing like that. And that's it. But once again, thank you very much, DJ Immortal. I appreciate you, and much respect to you, man.
Hey, man, thank you so much, and you are most certainly welcome. Thank you so much, and most definitely have yourself a wonderful week, Q.S.T. Thank you so much.
You too. Once again, thanks a lot, my brother. Peace and love. All right?
Peace and love, brother.